recording. So here we are. Today I have a special guest that was super spontaneous with me on this podcast. My beautiful friend Paja, that I actually met in Whistler. Hello, Paja.
Hello, Paja.
So it's like we are Paja and Taya, so it's gonna be fun.
Some TV show.
Yes. So the way we met, it's like in, when you meet someone in those beautiful mountains in Whistler and you are all, I feel like that we were all connected to our hearts and everything was just so beautiful. And we actually didn't have a chance to talk too much about ourselves. I think wherever we come together, it was just sharing the wisdom and sharing the knowledge. We never really go into the stories of my story and her story. So I said I want to use this opportunity to actually hear her story for the first time and share it with you at the same time. What do you think?
Yeah, so hi everyone, and thank you for introducing me. It was beautiful, and let's get into my story.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Okay. So as I was telling you, every time I talk about my story, because as I travel a lot, so people asking me, so what's your story? And it's kind of common question to ask. So I feel that my story, it's not, I didn't have any traumatizing experience. I would say that my childhood was good. Yes, my parents got divorced when I was 15. That might have been tough, but I didn't feel it as something which would put me on different direction. It kind of happened slowly after. And I would say that, I was always curious about the life. And, I was sometimes ask myself questions, these random questions, why I'm here, why do I see myself with this body? And I didn't tell to anyone. It's I guess everyone is asking, but no one is talking about it. Okay. So I'm not really sure if everyone is asking, but I did. And, it was from time to time, I would ask this question, but then I would just let it go. And I didn't even know that there might be some books or people, asking these questions at all. And so when it was my first year at the university, I was studying anthropology and economy. And it was my second, and I went to this volunteering project with my friend, and I've never traveled before as in the terms of traveling backpacking and exploring. It was more vacation type before, that you just lie on the beach and you do nothing. You don't explore anything. So it was my first time kind of stepping out of the comfortable zone. And while being on this project, I just felt so connected with the people. There were 15 people from different countries, and we all shared, ideas and lives. And I just felt so much in the flow and in the present moment. But I couldn't, I wouldn't describe it like I'm describing it now. I wasn't aware what was going on. But then I was leaving after 14 days, and I just felt heartbroken. I was crying, I didn't want to go back, which never happened before. I always wanted to come back from vacation. I was I'm done, I'm going home. And it was the first feeling when I felt then my heart or my soul was telling me this was good, this was something which maybe, it's the way for you. But of course, I wasn't translating it like this. I was just I'm set, I'm leaving. So I left. Then year after, I went again to the volunteering and again felt amazing. And then there is this huge traveling festival in Czech. And I went there with my friend, and just by listening to the people, traveling and sharing their stories, I felt so inspired. And again, this feeling from within, when your heart, it just fill up with the joy. That was there again. And I consider myself as generally happy person, but this feeling is this special feeling that in your life that there is something special happening and you need to listen. And So after this festival, we kind of like were with this friend, and I told her, you know, I feel now like I'm going like that. I want to go to New Zealand, because it was always in the back of my mind, New Zealand. I don't know why, but it felt like, okay, New Zealand. And I said it, and she said, okay, let's go. And like, so she supported me like in this, you know, crazy idea. And I felt like, okay, let's go, because I'm crazy too. And like, okay, like I wouldn't go by myself, but like if you are in, I am in. And within the month, we applied for visa. We got them. I told my family that, you know, I'm leaving school for a year, just like I was on the first year doing my master's. So I decided to stop and just go. And yeah, so we went, and it was the first time where I felt that I'm truly living. Like I'm truly just living myself, and I'm exploring myself. At the first time in my life, I felt like being in the city. And I know now that at the time when I was there, I couldn't name it. I just felt like it's getting the same, like it's nothing new, it's happening. The city, it's like not supporting me like in this growth. As I said, I could not name it back then. You know, I wouldn't say like, oh, I cannot go, I need to leave. No, it wasn't like that. But because I had this strong feeling that I need to do something, and I follow this feeling, even though I didn't know what is it, where I'm heading, it was totally unknown. And that gave me like this realization that this is actually something like which is the true learning, you know, in the life, that I basically didn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like there was no structure, you know. You would be working for maybe, you know, some months, and then you would be traveling, and like from day to day you just live in the car. You don't know where you're going to sleep tomorrow. And that's, I feel that's like you're tapping into the present moment and into your heart for doing this every moment. And then you can realize that there is this magic about being in the present moment and trusting, which then is manifesting things around you and supporting you in a way you could not even imagine if you include your analytical mind, as we live day by day, you know. And we thinking, we're trying to like, you know, have the plan and see it clearly, but in the flow, in the present moment, and your heart, it doesn't work like that, you know. You need to surrender and trust, you know, like know where you're heading kind of, but allow the space for outside to come to you as well with this feeling in your heart. And it was the first time when I felt it, and I was feeling that I'm not going back home, I'm not going to finish my studies. It doesn't make sense, because this year had given me so much that I felt that before I wasn't even living, like truly living, you know, through my heart. And I felt this connection with the nature there, with the, you know, people, and the inspiration I was getting every day, you know, it was just like insane. And I felt that I don't want to lose this flow. But then I think it was partly because of the fears of not disappointing my family, that I'm not going to come back and not finish my studies. So I think that was still a lot of fears that I actually decided to go back home and finish my studies. And so I did. But then so I had the 1 year to finish my studies. But at the moment I got back home, I knew that like that was just the beginning, you know, that was just the opening gate for me. That now I know that this is something I need to do and explore to be able to truly connect to myself at the moment. And like the first 14 days coming home after 1 year being in New Zealand and then Asia, I felt so depressed, so disconnected that no one could actually see the change. But I felt so strongly that I couldn't even talk about it, because people would not understand really. You know, maybe only, you know, my friend who traveled with me, she understood how I felt. But otherwise it was really hard for me to relate to people. And because I was in this, I guess, state where I didn't know who I am, that I, you know, touched something which I've never touched before, which felt true. I could not name it at the moment, and I did not know how to explain it to my friends. Therefore, I felt then super disconnected. Then as living back in Prague, I got back into my kind of old patterns, but with this, like urge to do it again.
Yeah.
So I could not share it that much with the people, but I felt that, okay, I need to go. And so I decided to go to Canada. I finished my studies. I got visa to Canada. And 9 months after I got back from New Zealand, I left to Canada. No plan, no one understood, but I just felt, okay, this is like the journey. It was the first journey, like big journey by myself. I just took a plane and I had no plan. And yeah, I left to Canada for, didn't know how long, and I stayed there for 2.5 years.
It's beautiful.
So
that's when we met.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's so inspirational, because I feel like a lot of people are actually going through that, and like you said, like they cannot name it. It's like, first of all, like that feeling inside of like something is wrong, something is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm always advising people to, really just go for whatever comes to their head, like you did with New Zealand. So I would ask you, like, what was the like the thought process at that time? Did you have to like embrace yourself in like a way of like, oh, I'm being a little bit selfish now, I'm doing something totally for myself? How did that reaction, like, how did you overcome that? Because I feel like a lot of people don't do this or don't go on their quest because they're afraid of like, what would their parents say, like for dropping off or just not finishing the university, or, like all those society, even like sometimes even the friends, sometimes even like, because you are so connected with some friends and they're all doing the same thing. And then you are the outsider thinking like, I just want to move. And they're like, you will leave us here, So how did you deal with that? And what would you advise people on that topic?
I think I didn't have this feeling with New Zealand. It felt like because I was also considering of doing Erasmus of like for this year. So for me, it was just like choosing slightly different path, but still going somewhere. But my family knew that, I was kind of thinking about going somewhere, but it was more in connection with my studies. But then I actually decided to do my research for my diploma paper in New Zealand. So it was still connected with my studies.
Got it.
So I felt that, they wouldn't look at me that I'm doing something selfish. For them, I had the excuse that I'm going. I had the excuse for myself as well. So it wasn't at this time, but I think with Canada, like that was the first time when I felt like really doing something which no one was expecting. I guess, or I feel that they felt, okay, she was in New Zealand for a year, she had her fun, and now she's just gonna settle down and live the regular life and, have a mortgage and be sitting in the office, which is kind of funny because I was studying anthropology, which is about the cultures and, like knowing the cultures and exploring the variety of the world. And I felt that my family didn't even know what I was studying and like why maybe this is the force which is there as well, why I want to explore them by myself. Anyway, so with Canada, I felt that I definitely had to be selfish in this way, but I didn't have any doubt that I need to do it. Like when I feel something so strongly, even though there is nothing rational about it, I'm just, okay, I gonna do it. I know it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in my heart. And because I was always maybe more connected to my feelings than into my rational mind. So I knew for sure I need to do it. And I always felt kind of like a black sheep already in my family. So I feel that this was just like part of my black sheepness. So when I said it to my family, they of course said something like, oh, like, but like, you know, you should maybe start working and, you know, like have something like that. But because I felt it so strong, then I said, but I'm going, I'm just, I need to do it for myself. And that's just how I feel it. And my friends, because again, they knew that I love traveling and I went to New Zealand already, and that's something which makes me happy, even though most of my friends, you know, would, I don't know, start having families or, you know, different approach to their life. And something that crazy like finishing your master's and going straight away into the Canada with your backpack with no plan, I think that for most of them it was something which they would never do for themselves. Maybe they didn't even want to, you know. So we didn't really talk about like what is good and what is bad, you know. I just felt it, and for them it wasn't the way. But for people who like have this feeling of doing something, but they have a fear of stepping out there and speaking up for themselves and going into the unknown, I would just say that if, you know, there is this strong calling inside you, no matter how much you're going to ignore it, it will always get you, and it will always go back into your mind. So, and if you don't want to waste your life, you just need to listen this voice. You know, if you really feel it so strongly, you gotta do it, because otherwise the things in your life will not be aligning as you want, and you will be always thinking, oh, if I would just do it. So rather than looking for things which would enable you to do it, ask yourself, okay, how can I make this happen? You know, instead of being in the fear, being really in the present moment, in your heart, and just do it. I need to check it. Can we stop it?
Whatever. I'm just gonna do the in between.
Okay. My mom.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mom. Good. So, what I was thinking when you were saying that is that I feel that people that actually change the world, that they make something new, or they help create something that hasn't been there, or like a new mentality or whatever, they're always like that, like black sheeps where they just cannot fit in. And it's funny because when you go and travel and you explore the world and you put yourself out there, I feel like we start like all the black sheeps from our environment, we just like find each other and we're like, oh, you're like me, like, oh, let's just hang out. But it's kind of funny because I really feel like we are sent to different environments for a reason, because the only way for us to like influence people is those people need to care for us, those people need to, you know, care what we are doing. And I feel like if we lift ourselves up and then go back into the environment with those people, that's when we are really contributing. But it's really interesting for me that we are so spread out, and it's like it's rarely happened that there would be like two people like that like coming to the same family, you know, or that it would be like you would be like a long time friend. It's always like it seems like we need to have that experience by ourselves and then explore it, like just follow the heart and go wherever like it takes us. And then on that journey, you'll find another people like being the same. So I feel like that's the best benefit that I got from traveling. and from exploring, because you just meet people like that and you just have the instant connection, and you can just talk for like hours, and like, or yesterday, like just forget about the time.
Yeah, I feel like that, like once, as I was talking about the fear, because if you live in the fear, you will naturally be meeting, you know, people who have the same opinion, you know, who have the same fears, and who are not making the difference. But the difference between people who actually stood up and said, okay, like, I don't know where I'm heading to, I cannot see, you know, what's gonna happen. But I'm actually going for it because this is what I feel like doing, then you actually start attracting, you know, those things and those events. And so once you tap into your heart sends out the vibration of what do you seek, no matter if you send it, but because you are in the state of, you know, surrendering. So you are actually like kind of making the garden of your heart for, you know, another flowers to grow around, to grow around you. And so as you go to this unknown, then you naturally meet people who went into the unknown again. So, you know, if people are afraid to go there because they think they will be alone or they will not be supported, that's a lie, because this feeling is the feeling for a lot of people. So no matter what you decide, you will always find and attract the people with exactly, you know, the same stories, or people who went through those stories, who can elevate you and help you on your journey and understand you. And that's what happened to me. So when I actually left to Canada, like my kind of like inner feeling was, okay, like I know, like I'm on my journey to get to know myself better, to meet new teachers, and to connect. You know, maybe I didn't name it like this again, but that was kind of the feeling in my heart. And as I was in Canada, so like first month I was hitchhiking around Quebec with my friend, which is beautiful in the flow. And then I went to this meditation retreat as a volunteer. And then I kind of didn't know what to do next. And I went to another volunteering, but it didn't feel quite right. It was in Ontario. By the way, don't go there, especially to Brantford. Like, don't go there if you love yourself. So I ended up in this like little village called Brantford, and there's really nothing, and the volunteering wasn't good. And I felt like, oh my God, like, am I doing this right? Like, am I, you know, like on the good path, or like what I'm doing here? Should I go back home maybe? So like I had this little doubt, but at the same time, I felt like this like little voice inside me telling me like, just like, it's okay, just like continue, you know, like. So because I kind of naturally listened to this voice, and I didn't like to give up things. So then I was kind of thinking, so what am I gonna do? I'm here, I don't like it, so I need to change, obviously. Like, if you don't like anything, ask yourself, so what can I do to change it? Because that's it. Like, if you don't love it, change it. And so few of my friends told me, oh, you should go to Vancouver. Like, you know, you like nature, just go there, you're gonna love it. And my friend was at the time in Vancouver, so it's like, okay, so I'm just gonna go and like see her and then see. So I went to Vancouver, and I just didn't feel it in the city. You know, I was in the city, and it was surrounded by mountains, it was green, and everyone was telling me, you're gonna love it, but I did not. And it's like, oh my God, like, I'm still not feeling it. It's like, okay. And then it was raining, and it was terrible, and I really felt low. But again, because I have this like inner determination, that I felt like it's not the end of the journey, you know, and that this is just something I need to overcome, because of course, like our life, it's coming with ups and downs, you know, with good and bad, like it's all part of it. And if we always give up when the bad things are coming into our life, we will never achieve anything. You know, that's always the biggest trial for us, to keep going, even though if the rain is pouring over you, you know. And if you keep going, then you reach the top, and the clouds will do that, and you see the sun shining on you, you know, but if you give up in the middle of the hill, you never go above the clouds.
Yeah, that's beautiful said.
And then I was thinking, so, okay, so what am I gonna do? And then I remembered that some people told me about Whistler and Banff, that, you know, these like little town or villages are like in the mountains, just like pure wild nature. And I felt, okay, so maybe that's it finally. And I was about to go to California in a week with my friend. But I have this week like to kind of like figure out like what next, because after California I was about to go back to Canada. And so I said to myself, okay, so let's see the job offers in Banff and in Whistler. And then so I saw some and I replied, and I sent my CVs, and then no one from Banff replied, and like 50% of people from Whistler replied.
Oh,
I was like, okay, I'm going to Whistler. And so there was, I got a ride to Whistler, and actually, coincidence, a friend of my friend who I was supposed to go to California with was living in Whistler at the time, so she like connected us, so I could stay at his place. And as we were driving from Vancouver to Whistler, and there's this beautiful highway, Sea to Sky Highway. I think it's like one of the most beautiful highways in the world. And I was just sitting in the car and just looking outside, and I was just like, is this real? And I felt like I'm going to the place where I need to be. And I arrived to Whistler. It was in the middle of the night. I didn't see anything around. I arrived, and I felt it immediately. I am at the right place. I had no doubt in my heart that I am exactly where I need to be. And so 2 days after, I had my first interview. I was in this little coffee shop. It was startup. The name was Piccolo. And I immediately clicked with the lady. And it was funny because it was in the Rainbow neighborhood. And Rainbow, for me, since New Zealand, was always a good sign. So, you know, in New Zealand, our car would break down. We would have no job and then no money. And then suddenly, you know, I would see rainbow on the sky. Day after, we would have job. And like, so things like that were happening, and always when like we were at the lowest point, the rainbow would show up. So for me, it was always like sign, oh,
That's
hey, we
beautiful.
are watching over you. And so when I saw it was in Rainbow neighborhood, and then actually the logo of the coffee shop was a tree, which is another significant symbol in my life. And then meeting with the owner, and just like all clicked. And she said, okay, but do you have accommodation? And I said, no, I don't. And she said, well, I cannot give you a job if you don't have accommodation. And it's pretty hard to find accommodation in Whistler. And I said, okay. So I left and I sat behind the computer, and I wrote to like 3 people offering accommodation. And day after, I had accommodation in Whistler, which is really super hard to find. But I was just like, I just felt like that it's so right that I had no doubt that it's not going to happen. I canceled my trip to California, and I stayed the whole time in Whistler. I could not leave.
Amazing. You got that accommodation that you were actually in when we had the dinner?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a funny story as well, actually, with this one. Yeah.
Tell me.
So, well, we met in, it was like July.
Oh, I don't really know. I think Whistler was just like without the time for me.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was, so my visa were expiring at the time when we were meeting. So, but I was applying for my Canadian residency because I just really loved being there. And I felt like, okay, like this is my home, and I just don't want to miss the chance to be here. So I'm still in the process of applying for my residency. And I knew that I'm leaving in November. And I knew that I'm going to Asia to travel more. And I knew that I don't have that much money in my account. And I also knew that when I trust the abundance, will just manifest around me. And it was it's a big one, like money, it's a big one in my life. So I decided that for last 2 months living in Whistler, I will not be living in the house where I was living because I wasn't really happy there. And I felt I need more light. It was like in the dark room kind of. And I felt, okay, I need more light, and I really feel I need more space. I need some, beautiful environment where to be. And I don't want to pay anything for these 2 months in Whistler.
Good luck, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, like in Whistler, there's like this huge like housing crisis and like people leaving because there's no accommodation.
Yeah.
And so I decided that. But what I did different, of course, I have a lot of friends. I could always sleep on the couch. But what I did different this time, rather than asking, oh, can I stay with you for 2 months for free or whatever, I just want to save money.
Yeah.
I just felt that it's okay, that first I actually need to decide that I want to change something, and then the change can come into my life. So I really fully trusted that I will find and I will be exactly where I need to be for in those conditions I was asking for. And so it was such a funny journey. So I was moving out from my apartment on the 1st of October. No, what is the month before October? September. September. And at the time my family was there and they were leaving at the same day as I was moving out. And I was kind of like all hectic. And my friends from Whistler told me, like, I don't know, 2 weeks before, if you don't have any place where to be, you can just stay with us for the first week, because then our family is coming. So if you don't have anything, coming up for you, you can just stay with us. And it was really beautiful because they lived just like above the work where I was living, where I was working. Yeah. So it took me like 1 minute to work, and it was just like the rainbow neighborhood, right? Yeah. And that's where I felt that I want to stay for like the last 2 months. I want to stay in the rainbow. So they offered me this beautiful offer. And so I stayed with them for 1 week. And then I was there like for 3 days. And I had like 4 days to figure out where I'm going to move out. Yeah. People are asking me, so are you trying to find something? And I was like, no. And I really, really trusted that it will just feel right, because yes, like one of my friends told me, hey, you can sleep on my couch, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like that's it, Yeah. I was like, okay, like, thank you, but I didn't say yes. And then I had 3 days, and I kind of like started, doubting, and I was like, like, should I do something then? Like, should I do some move? And then when I'm like in these kind of unbalanced states in myself, like I go into the doubt, into the fear, I have this deck of the cards, like kind of like oracle card, like, for motivation. So I was like, okay, let's do my cards and meditate. So I meditated and I did my cards. And the card, which I pulled out from the deck, said gratitude. And then it said, like, just be grateful for everything you have and you don't have. And your angels will support you. And, it said more things. But, like, this was the core. And I just saw it. And I thought, like, of course. Like, how could I not? So I sat and I was just meditating, like, and really like being grateful for the beautiful house where I'm already living, like the feeling, like, like seeing this beautiful space and like feeling this house and being grateful that I am there and that I have this space for myself where I can just, be happy and feel safe. And I just did it and I felt so good. I feel it now. I really felt so good. And I went to bed. The day after, I was in the coffee shop working, and one of the like regular customer came, and we were talking, and he asked me, "Oh, so how was your time with your family?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it was good." And he asked me, "So where do you live now?" Because like we were talking before that I'm gonna be moving out from my old house. So he asked me, "So where do you live now?" And I said, "Oh yeah, with my friends. And in like 3 days I'm moving out." And he said, "And where are you moving to?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he just like looked at me and like, "Okay." And he left. And like 1 hour later, he came back with his wife, and they were like waiting for me to come to them. So I came to them, and they said, "Well, Paja, we would like to offer you something. Would you like to stay with us in our house?"
But
like for the rest of your stay in Whistler.
Yeah.
And like at that moment, you have no idea what was happening inside me. I just could not even express. I could not believe. And they were just living in the rainbow, like in this beautiful, like 3-level house, beautiful window with a lot of lights. And like when they tell me that, I was so touched. And yeah, like that's how I ended up in this house for 2 months.
It was a beautiful house. I was there.
Yeah. And it just, like sometimes people would tell me, "Oh, but like this is coincidence, like this is not happening." But I would be the same maybe, a couple of years ago, but this is not this was like one of the strongest and the biggest kind of manifestations and the trust in the universe and how it works for me. But because I lived through it, and I know how it feels, and I know that if you are really in your heart, and gratefulness have so much potential, you are not asking for anything. You are not saying, "Hey, give me that." No, you're grateful for what you already have. And that can come to you because you already have it. And that's how powerful it is. You are not saying, "Oh yeah, I really want this in my life, and please give me this." No, you are creating the feeling of the gratefulness, which I feel it's one of the most powerful feeling we can create, with the compassion and love for the things we already have. Even though if you don't have them, but if you're already grateful for them, it's like as they already exist in your life. And so that's why, like, even though it might sound crazy, but if you really believe that there is this possibility, but you have no even a doubt, like a single doubt, which would disturb this field, then it can actually happen, and you just allow the space to happen without knowing. It's in the space of not knowing when this can happen for you. When you say, "Okay, I surrender and I'm grateful," and then it comes to you.
That's beautiful. It's such an awesome story. I love those stories. Yeah. It's amazing. Like, one question that pops to my mind is, because I practice this a lot as well, like, how do you make sure to not get trapped into expectation or like, waiting for it? Because the crucial part is really like letting go and surrendering. But I know there is like an element, also within me, like when I'm trying to manifest something, that then I'm like kind of waiting for it, or kind of like expecting it to come up. And then like, because, there's expectation, it usually like nothing happens, and there's also disappointment. So how do you deal with that? What's your practice to go over with this?
So I think it's the key, it's in the not trying to manifest.
That's a strong one. Yeah.
So when you are in the space of surrendering rather than manifesting, then there is no expectation. And so what I do when, maybe it takes longer than, you would imagine, and that's coming with the having expectations.
Yeah.
And then you go into the fear or doubting, and then you're creating actually the opposite vibration of what you maybe trying to manifest, right? So it doesn't make sense, it cannot flow, because you are in the state of expectation and in your ego, in your head. So what I'm doing, because I know that this all is happening through my heart, and I know that heart has no judgment and heart lives only now. So every time I'm in the fear, I'm in the doubt, that's a signal for me, you are not in your heart. So what I do, I go back into my heart. So what I do, I would sit and meditate, or I would just take a deep breath and just like put myself back into the present moment. So that's the first thing, because in the present moment, fears and doubts are just disappearing. Because when the fears and doubts are getting you, it's your ego, starting to be stronger, or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So what I do, it's really trying to get myself back into the present moment and into the trust and knowing, because your heart, it's beyond your mind. And because what's happening, as we are growing up in our society, it's based on the analytical mind, which is trying to see clearly what's ahead of us.
Yeah.
But when you are in the state of surrendering and being in your heart, you don't see actually what is ahead. So that's the difference between being in your fears in your mind and being in your heart and giving the space. So if I am in this state, it's the signal for me, go back into the present moment. And into the trust. And then you see in the present moment, okay, like, am I in the bad place? Like, am I not having a food? Am I not having a roof? And then you can just like start like with the basic things, in your life. And then it gets you into the feeling that, okay, there is abundance around me. Like I have something to eat. I have a roof. I have money more on my account, and then you can have a look. So why this fear is coming up? And usually it's some kind of judgment, usually maybe, coming from ourselves, from some beliefs, or from my family, or from friends. And so these judgments are then getting to us. But the judgment, it's again signal you are not in your heart. And when you are in your heart, you are living according to your higher self and with your true and with the flow of the nature and the universe. And the universe in this state can enter you and can support you in the way of abundance. Because there is abundance for all of us, but because we are so stuck in our head, and I sometimes have it as well, but that's why like I need to bring myself back. We are so stuck that there is not enough money, that we need to work hard, that we need to do this, and then we limit ourselves through this belief, and then we are not in our heart, and we cannot manifest our higher self and be in our heart and be in the tune with the universe as it goes together. And we are separate rather than being in the unity as we are. So the ego, the fears are separating us from the whole, which is the abundance.
That's so true. That's such a beautiful way of explaining it. Thank you. Like it really like resonates, like especially because, like often when we come to that state when you feel like, oh, I'm expecting it now, I'm not doing it right. Like I feel like there is immediately like a part of me that wants to fix it like mentally. But it's like if I use that as a sign of like, hey, that just means that you're not in your heart, it's always the same way to get there. It's always like just meditating and connecting to your heart again versus like trying to figure it out here. And yeah, it's a beautiful tool to have in your pocket. I think it's very awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'm happy that
Yeah.
resonated and helped.
Yeah.
Like it's sometimes like I'm not saying it's easy, you know.
Of course.
And,
we never say that things are easy here.
Yeah. But it's really something which works for me. And once you, like, the more you connect to this feeling of your heart and the present moment, the less people, situations, and your own ego can distract you from that. And of course, it's not about being passive and don't do anything, just like surrender and don't do anything. No, like if you have this clear intention, then you can actually listen to the voice, and you know exactly what you need to do or what you cannot do. Sometimes you just need to be, as my beautiful our friend said, Mark, that sometimes the only thing you need to do is to surrender. But sometimes we just, through being able to listen and we actually know exactly what we need to do. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But it's not our mind trying to figure it out, but we just do what we need to do. We know what we need to do. Yeah.
And it's just a feeling. It's coming.
And then just maybe the thing you need to do, it's not again rational. It's maybe, I don't know, it will tell you, okay, you need to speak with this person. You know, it would come up.
Yeah.
And then you speak with this person, and this person gives you exactly the job you need.
Yeah.
But without this listening, you would be too distracted by your ego and the fears that you would go to the first coffee shop and get a job because you need money.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all learned a lot right now. Awesome. Yeah, I think I don't know what's the time, but I think that's approximately how long we want our podcast to be.
Oh, really? It felt like 10 minutes.
No, it definitely went. Like, I don't even know because it doesn't say here, but it definitely went for like probably like 45 minutes or something. And I'm trying to keep it below 1 hour, which is hard sometimes.
Oh, wow. It really didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it's like yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's like...
That's it.
Oh, so like now we can like share a little bit about why we're actually here. Because it was funny, like I was planning a trip to, like, I didn't even plan it, like you heard the previous episode when I did it with Heidi. So I came to Prague to meet with her, and then I was like, well, Paja is in Czech now, I just have to reach out and we have to meet. And then we were supposed to meet on Tuesday, but you got sick, right? And then we were just like, oh, maybe next time. And then on like Friday when I should leave home, so yesterday, like you just texted me like, oh, so are you leaving tomorrow? And then you were like, oh, I actually wanted to say today. And I was like, why did she say tomorrow? Maybe she knew. She's so intuitive. She knew that I'm leaving tomorrow. I was like, what do you have in store for me? Then you just put it out there like, oh, if you want, you can just come to my place, you know. I was like, well, you know, it's easier for me to come like 1 hour from Prague than to come all the way from Slovenia. So I was like, okay, why not? So I guess the reason why I needed to came was also to record this podcast, which we didn't.
Yeah, it was super spontaneous.
It was super spontaneous, and I think we gained a lot of lessons from it.
Yeah. It was good to talk about. It's always like every time you talk about this, you know, it's not that it's lesson for someone, but I feel it's always lesson for me just to talk about it.
That's the reason why I started this podcast, because like I need to repeat to myself all the time that it's okay to just listen to my heart and no one else. You know, I just have to repeat this to myself, because like I feel like my biggest issue my whole life was I wanted to save everyone. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to like, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's not that and a lot of people say, yeah, that's so beautiful. You know, you're just so caring. I think that's like a very bad belief to have, that you want to save the world, because it's so easy to forget about yourself, and you don't have the capacity to see what another person needs and you cannot give them because that person probably needs something from within, you know, so that person needs to go on their quest by themselves to figure out what they want, what they need. And you can only do that for yourself. You cannot do it for anyone else. So for me, it's just like a constant reminder, like every single podcast, I'm like, yes, I can just like focus on myself. I can just like follow my heart and like not think about, you know, who will I hurt or who will I disappoint. And I think that's one of the biggest biggest limiting beliefs that I have is like I don't want to disappoint anyone. And like that doesn't go well with like me following my heart. So it's like I have to remind myself all the time, like I can follow my heart. It doesn't like disappointing others, it's their expectation, not mine, you know. So yeah, so like you said, you are sharing the wisdom with people for the sake of reminding yourself. But at the same time, we also contribute a little bit, you know. We give it out to people so they can enjoy it. Do you have any last wisdom that is coming through your channel that you want to share with us?
No, I just really, whoever is listening, I want to say that you can do it. It's all in you. There is no one else doing it for you. You are the only one who has the power to do whatever you need to do through you. And we all have a gift, you know, whatever it is. If it's, I don't know, being a photographer or being a best cook, or not even best, you know, it can be whatever, but whatever, it's this which makes you feel happy. Just do it and don't waste your time waiting, because we only have limited time in this body on this earth. So don't waste your time, and whatever feels right, just do it. Even though if you don't see ahead, just do it, and the good things and magics are happening in this zone.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Paja, for this beautiful conversation and channeling. And yeah, next time we see each other, we can repeat it. So that they get more of this beautiful wisdom as well.
Thank you so much. It was really inspiring and beautiful time. It felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah, we will see how much it is when we finish.
But thank you, and thank you for doing the job what you do and spreading the light and inspiring the people.
Thank you. It's all for my selfish reasons, but yeah.
That's what we need to do, as you said. Like, first you need to be able to give yourself, and then you can give to others. You cannot give someone 1 million if you yourself don't have 1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So guys, see you the next time. Hear you the next time, whatever platform you're at. And talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.